Okay, so for the first, for the measurement unit, the first thing we would like to do is look at reference. So what is a referent? By definition, a referent is just an item used to estimate a measure. So for example, it says, for instance, the length of a binder is a good referent for a foot. So if you think about it, feet and hands, those used to be reference for measurements years ago, but now we can also use other reference for other measurements. So for example, a millimeter, we might say a millimeter could be measured using the width of a dime, okay? So we could stack up a bunch of dimes if we wanted to measure the width of a small item, or a whole bunch of dimes if we wanted to measure the width of a large item. A centimeter, we might use like the width of a fingernail, okay? We often use body parts, right? Because that's what we have. And back in the olden days when they didn't have, perhaps rulers and such, then they would have used like a foot or a hand, right? Horses are measured in hands, actually. So that goes from way back. A meter, well, a meter probably sort of the, the span from nose to fingers, okay? The span from fingertips to your nose. That's probably about a meter. Okay, a kilometer. So a kilometer we could say is the time, I guess we could say the distance walked in about maybe 12 minutes. Okay, we can probably walk a kilometer in about 10 to 12 minutes. So that would be a good referent. Okay. Imperial measures, so we often use sort of like one knuckle. I think that's where the inch comes from. A foot, well, we could use our foot, or a binder, or maybe a piece of paper. Okay, that's about a foot. Okay, a yard is sort of the measure of one leg. Okay, and a mile's a little bit 1.6 times a kilometer, so a mile would be the time it takes, I guess the distance. We could say the distance walked in about maybe about 15 minutes. About 15 minutes. Okay, and this little symbol means approximately. Okay, that little squiggly thing, that means approximately 12 minutes, so approximately 15 minutes. So which reference are similar between SI and imperial systems of measurements? Well, probably your leg, or the distance walked within kilometers and miles. Those are all kind of similar sorts of reference. So one thing we could do is we could use those reference to measure our classroom. Instead of measuring with a measuring tape or a ruler, we could say, well, the width of the room is 25 binders or something like that, but we're not going to do that right on the video here, so we will zip through these pages, but as long as you kind of understand what a referent is. The next thing we want to look at is unit conversions. So we can convert between different units of measure using proportional reasoning and verify using unit analysis. So proportion, we know, is a statement with two equal ratios. So for example, I know that 1/2 is equal to 4/8, and because of that, I know that for a fact, and I know when I look at my opposite to my cross factors here, my cross products, I guess we could say, 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 times 8 is 8. So I know that 8 is equal to 8 when I multiply diagonally. So that's why proportions can work. So for example, when we go down here, convert 300 meters to kilometers. That one we'll look at in a second. Convert 17 feet into inches. So I'm going to look at my conversion chart above. If I want to convert feet to inches, I know that 1 foot and I'm just gonna write the feet out here. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, and therefore, if I wanna convert that into 17 feet, into X number of inches, what I wanna do is I wanna cross multiply. So therefore, X would be 12 times 17 has to equal to whatever 1 times X is. So if I know that 1 times X is equal to whatever that is there, 12 times 17, then I've got my answer there, which is 204. Okay, and what this here says, and I know that's going to be inches, but what this verify using unit analysis means is it means if I multiply my units, if we look at our actual units here, and I multiply feet times inches, and then divide by feet, I end up with inches. So for example, if we measure 12 inches, okay, so we could say X is equal to 12 inches times 17 feet, and I'm going to divide that by 1 foot. I can see my numbers, but my feet will also cancel here, and I'm left with 12 inches, okay, or 204 inches, right? The units cancel there, so that's another reason we know that this would be in inches, okay? If I look up at my metric system, if I want to convert within the metric system, I just move my decimal back and forth. So 300 meters to kilometers, of course, if I'm going from meters to kilometers, I'm going to divide by 10, divide by 10, and divide by 10, because it's a 10-based system. So we're actually dividing by 10, 100, 1,000, which means we're going to move that decimal back 3 places. So my little invisible decimal, I know is right here. If I move that back 3 places, I know that I get 0.3 kilometers, okay? 300 meters is equal to 0.3 kilometers. So there's my answer there. The next one, convert 25 centimeters to inches. So centimeters to inches, centimeters to inches, where's my centimeters to inches here? Centimeters to inches is 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So if 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, then 25 centimeters, right? I'm going to write centimeters on the bottom because I've got centimeters on the bottom over on the left of my proportion, and that's equal to X inches. So what I want to do, again, if I cross multiply here, I can multiply the 25 times the 1 and divide by the 2.54. Or in other case, we would get let's change that we would get 2.54x is equal to 1 times 25, which is 25, and then divide both sides by 2.54. Divide by 2.54, and when we do 25 divided by 2.54, we get x is equal to 9.8, okay? And with respect to our unit analysis, we get centimeters times inches divided by centimeters, which is equal to inches, okay? So that's 9.8 inches, which I knew because it was on the numerator. So what I would like you to do for this is I would like you to do these tries as homework. So page 7 would be a good page to do for homework, okay?